in England, for example, you have the rugby crowd, the cricket crowd, you got the soccer crowd, right? And the football crowd is the biggest of all bunch, obviously. But is that the same in India? Do cricket fans watch football, or is it very much no? You're either one or the other.
No, they do. They're especially in certain parts of India. The west coast of India, the southwest coast of India, like Goa, even Mumbai to a bit because they've got the investment now from Citigroup. You go down to Kerala, down the west coast, they're absolutely bonkers. Like, honestly, like Goa being a Portuguese colony, there's a lot of people out there with Portuguese names. Like it's Fernandez's and D'Souza's, and there's a lot of fans out there. Kerala is insane, like stupidly nuts about football. They love cricket. Like, don't get me wrong. Every Indian, you'll struggle to find one that doesn't love cricket.
Where does it rank? Just like I'm just thinking on like in Canada, soccer we've talked about, it's growing with MLS, but it's still the fourth, perhaps fifth sport if you're talking CFL too. Where does football, soccer live in the hierarchy of Indian sport?
Oh, second.
And so it is confirmed second space.
It's stupid. Like you got some like you go to the East Coast and you've got Calcutta, where I played for 2 seasons.
Right.
And it's got I think it's the second oldest derby in world football.
Oh.
So Mohammedan and East Bengal, they're either side of Calcutta. And I think it's only second to one of the Brazilian rivalries. So it's insane. And when they didn't have the money to like have proper security at games, like they've had games there where they've had an 80,000 or 70,000 seater stadium with 160, 170,000 people in it.
Shit.
And they'd come onto the field right behind the sponsor hoardings. And they'd be 8 feet from the field and nobody policing them. And it is what it is. Like they just loved it. When I was out there, we played my first season. So David James was my coach. We had a bunch of British lads, Stephen Pearce and Jamie McAllister, who played in the SPL, and a couple of
your accent gets deeper when you say those names. You know that, eh? You're leading into the accent.
No, it's crazy. I honestly, I wish I tried to change my accent. I bloody don't.
So I didn't want to get you off your story, but
I know that's fine.
Make that comment.
Everyone says it. Don't worry about it. No, but we were favorites for Wooden Spoon because our designated player, when everyone else had Luis Garcia and Capdevila played for the Northeast, and we had Robert Pires and all them, we had David James, and he was David James, the co-coach, or he was player coach. And
yeah.
Craig, I'm not taking that away from a keeper. He was a phenomenal keeper, but it was he wasn't gonna go out and win a game for us, if that made sense. And
you must have some good David James stories. He's a bit of a different cat.
He is definitely a different cat.
Yeah,
he's we can get onto that. But, no, so we ended up making it to the finals. Just off, we had a great group of guys, and we bought into what was going on, and like we fought tooth and nail for each other. Like that was the difference. We had a bunch of teams had egos around the league, and we didn't. We had a bunch of very good older statesman Indian players, and then gritty foreigners. We didn't have the flair from Spain. We didn't have Brazilians or anything like that. We just had like a bunch of gritty players, and we made the final. So your semifinal is home and away, and we had our first semifinal at home, and our stadium only held like 69,000 or 70,000. They said there was at least 85, 90,000 in there.
Jesus.
But they were, and I swear, I shit you not, they were on the rafters. They were above by the lights on the roof of the stadium. And it's like, we were like Dortmund. So we were in yellow. So it was a sea of yellow everywhere. And it was absolutely nuts. And we scored within the first like 8-10 minutes of the game, and the place erupted. And we're like, oh, this is insane. Like we couldn't hear anybody. And then we scored again. We won. We ended up winning the game 3-0. And the place was absolutely bonkers. And like they just showed what they how much they loved football and how much they loved our team. And we were brand new. Like they bought in day one. So like our preseason game, we'd only been together like 2 weeks, and we played our first behind closed door preseason game. No advertisement, no nothing. We played against in their state leagues, they play like you have like a police team, you have an army team and all that, and you have your school teams and everything. And we played against a team behind closed doors. It was on a half-built stadium, which they were in the middle of doing. It was brand new turf, which they'd rushed down, I think, because we were coming. So it wasn't great, nothing like that. Like the stadium, I swear to God, the buildings of the stadium had no roof. It was like concrete shell, had doors, windows, and all that. We started warming up, and people started walking past, and you could see them going from work and going across and the back of the stadium and everything. By the time we kicked off the game, I shit you not, we had about 5,000 people there. And they were like sitting in the open windows and open doorways of this building. They were sitting on the fences, behind the fences, parking their buses up next to the fence so they could see properly, and sitting on top of the buses. And it was just like, the hell have we got into here? Like, we didn't know anything about this because we'd only trained, and you had a bunch of people playing football on a turf field, sweating their asses off, getting on a bus going back to the hotel 15 minutes away. And it was just like, everyone's looked at each other after the game thinking, this could be fucking nuts.
The Blasters are one of the best supported clubs in India. What was your favorite club you played for? You played in different regions, and was there more of a following down in the southwest than there was up in the north side?
I was so fortunate, like, honestly, like when I played for Pune at the end of my career, so that was my last games. They're a smaller place. They're 3 hours south of Mumbai, so they didn't have a massive support. It was a great place, great city. It was like more of a tech city than anything. They love their cricket, obviously, and I don't know if you've looked it up, a sport called kabaddi. So they started the kabaddi professional league there, and we went to watch it. Fucking insane. But
what is it?
Is that like the wrestling one where you? Yeah, I've seen kabaddi. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing to watch.
It's literally like tag with wrestling.
Yes.
That's the only way I can explain it.
I think they had an event at the Rogers Center then.
They probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Really?
We've got the population for it.
Yeah.
But there's different types of kabaddi and different. But I'll get back to that. But so Pune wasn't a great supported club, but it was a very good club. It was a smaller town, tech city, and people would come out. We'd still get 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people every game. But playing in Kerala and playing in Kolkata, crazy. Like, they're just football nuts. They love their cricket. I'm not going to take that away, but they're football nuts. And Kerala was more over the top with it. Like, they were crazy in love with their club, and they still are. Calcutta was more of a historical one, and because they'd formed Atletico de Kolkata, who was a sister club of like Atletico Ottawa. Yeah. So we would do our preseason in Spain. We do it at their historical preseason camp, which is an hour northwest of Madrid. So we do that for a month, and then we go back to India. So we did that. I did that for 2 years. But absolutely not. Like, they just love the game. It's just phenomenal. But with Calcutta, the issue you had is because the Super League started, they tried to amalgamate the Mohun Bagan and East Bengal fans because they weren't in the league. They're now back in the league, but they weren't at the time. So the only Calcutta club in the ISL was ATK. So we had to amalgamate the fans, which was a tough ask, but they won three of the first 5 leagues, kind of like a Forge are doing in the CPL. They were involved and or winning every year for the first 5 years.
And haven't they just recently divested themselves of Atletico?
Yeah, well, the year after I left, so it was crazy. We'd end up winning the league. We had a big Spanish contingent, coaches, everything. It was a great setup. And they ended up saying, okay, well, you know what, we're gonna move on from the Spanish contingent. We're gonna bring in others. And we're like, okay, well, does that mean I still have a chance? Because I'm definitely not Spanish. And like 2 years in the league, like those 2 years I was with Calcutta, I was top scorer for the club both years, and I did very well. I was in team of the year both years. I was runner up for
Also fittest player.
Hey,
can you talk about that one?
I fucking can. So, okay, here we go. Let's go back a year. So with the Kerala team, when we made the finals, we lost in the 95th minute. Like, it was crazy. We'd hit the post. I'd had a free kick saved. Like, we'd had chances. They were a good team. We were equally as good. And we lost in the 95th minute, golden goal. So heartbreaking. I got player of the season. I got voted by the reporters, the owners of clubs, the coaches of clubs and all that. I got voted for player of the season, which was, for me, like Alano from Man City had an incredible year. He was only 30, I think he was 34 at the time, 35. So he was still there and he was still physically able and he was phenomenal. But I'd done equally as well goal scoring wise, and I think they just loved what I gave, and I was still fit. So that's why I called you, Jimmy, a year after. But but then it was like the whole summer. So I went in there, and all foreign players that weren't designated players were on a central contract. So we were on decent but not great money, and it was only a 3-month gig. So it was one of those. We were there in August. We were home by Christmas. So I was like, yeah, well, that's why I tried it. I'm like, I need something new. I just needed to get away from the politics of the UK at the time. And so I went over, did a lot better than I thought, enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and then get voted player of the year. So I'm like, you know what? I'm in good fucking standing here. So next couple of months, I'm negotiating my contract. So the next year was still the 3-month gig. So I'm negotiating my contract. It got to like March. So I'd gone back to Tranmere after that, which ended up being a mistake. But I was 3 months negotiating a contract, got everything where I wanted it to be. I wasn't asking the world. I was still going to be on a lot less than a lot of the foreign players, but I knew what I wanted for a 3-month gig. And yeah, well, they went quiet, stopped answering calls. I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on here? So I get a message. Literally, I was going swimming with my family because they always go swimming on a Thursday night. Pulled in, phone goes. Looked down. Said to my wife, I said, "You're gonna have to go in and go swimming on your own." I said, "I'll be in a minute." Called my agent. Said, "What? They've decided to go a different way. They're appointing a coach next week, and he said you're not in his plans." Like, okay. Lo and behold, they appoint Peter Taylor, which whatever, a guy done well in his career. Well, he had a big name, done well in his career is a stretch.
Little big.
But,
no bitterness.
No, not at all. The guy's a piece of shit. But
Okay.
no, well, for the guy to never met me properly, like I probably shook his hand once when I was playing in England. I might have played against one of his teams. Never met me and goes, "No, Hume's not fit enough. He's overweight. He's this, he's that. He's older." He goes, "And for what you're paying him, I can get 2-3 players in." Like, okay, fair enough. Like, each to their own. But then they go and sign one of my former understudies, Chris Dagnall, who was a buddy of mine, great player, great athlete, works his ass off. Like, he came through the Tranmere ranks like 3 years below me. Fair enough. Then brought in a couple others and brought in a bunch of people from England who were there or thereabouts in academy soccer, but never really made it until after. And then he's the first manager in ISL history to get sacked, which was kind of funny for me. And then I made the semifinals that year, which we played 14 games, 16 with the semifinals, and I missed 9 minutes the whole season. So for me to be labeled without meeting me or seeing me play or train as unfit and overpriced, and this, that I actually said it in a podcast an interview I did afterwards when they gave it to me. I said, "Well, this is an interesting trophy to be receiving." I said, a couple people can take it home and sit on it if they want to. But and I'm just like, no, like, don't label me when you don't know me. Like, okay, I understand. Well, maybe call me and say, listen, Hume, I can't afford to give you that. Maybe if I took 10, 15, 20 grand off your contract and gave you bonuses, would that work? Do that. Don't label me, because I just had a great season.
Are you sure it was
I didn't know.
Are you sure it was the fittest award and not the fattest?
It wasn't. Hey, the thing is, I wasn't fat that year. I was
Not that year.
no, not that year. Hey,
When did you get fat, Hume?
I like
never-
the qualifier that year.
Jimmy, I've never denied it, buddy. I've got the body shape of Wayne Rooney. But obviously
You're way
not
better
now.
looking.
Not now. Yeah, I've not got his body now. Jesus. But no, I was never fat, but I was never ripped.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Go
one of
back to
those
this
guys.
award though that Amy threw out. What was that based on? Because we had just spoken about Brian Budd and superstars, and I'm like, Jimmy said, what did they make him, do fitness awards? How did he get that? How do you get that designation and that award?
Well, minutes per game.
Just
for
pure minutes?
Yeah, like I don't know what stats they had regarding distances traveled and everything like that, but for the amount of minutes, and like, I played in every single game. I didn't sit out any games. I wasn't one of those guys. And to be honest, the only reason I came off, we played a game, and I think we were playing against, I want to say, Northeast United, and we just equalized towards the end of the game. We were having a shiter, and we just equalized. I tapped in like a poacher's goal, great one, from a hole about a yard and a half, and the coach, one of our wingers, was dead to the world, and our coach goes like, Hume, like, in his obviously broken English, not being able to speak much, Hume, izquierda. I'm like, yeah. Wanted to put me left wing. I'm like, Gaffer, I'm about to cramp. Like, if you're gonna put me there, take me off. Like, it was literally, I think there was 9 minutes left. I think it was 81 minutes or 80 minutes and a bit. I'm like, I gotta come off. Like, if you're gonna put me left wing where there's gonna be more running, I'm like, I can do it every 30 seconds or a minute when it comes flying forward. I don't mind running around and smashing into big center backs. I'm good with that. But put me left wing where I've got to go up and down. I'm like, yeah, take me off and put somebody else on. Put a defender on if you want. Like, so he took me off. And he came up after the game. We held on, and I think it helped us qualify. I think we qualified for the playoffs that day. And he took me off, and he came over to me. He goes, thank you. And like, whatever. Like, we needed to get somebody on. So I'm like, yeah, no worries. And that was it. That was the only time I came off. And Jimmy will tell you, when I was younger and towards the end of my career, I worked my ass off.
You did.
So that was the one thing. Couldn't trap a bag of sand some days, but I'd run through a brick wall for you.
So, Hume, would you advise players now to give India a look, at least? If they can't get perhaps their dream move right now, go there, see the world, experience it. Is it good enough football to evolve as a footballer?
100%. It's professional soccer. It's like, as much as like you promote like the CPL and that, I'd like, okay, great for players to go to the CPL. Is that the height of their career? Or like, we want to evolve Canadian soccer, but if somebody doesn't get looked at for the CPL because of one thing or another, are they going to stop their journey? Like, for instance, you look at Marcus Haber. Marcus Haber had a good career. He was in and out of clubs, comes to the CPL, has a lot of injury issues, struggles. And he'll be the first to tell you that he struggled as far as goal scoring and all that. Boy goes to Cambodia and kicks everyone's ass. Like, why not do it in India? Like, okay, you're not going to look at your CV at the end of the season or the end of your career and go, oh, I played Premier League, I played here and played, but it's still professional football and it's your dream. If you want to play professional football, you go and play professional football. If you want to make a decent living off the game that you love and you've committed so much time to in your youth, would you rather play for League One Ontario and get expenses paid and say that's the extent of your career? Or are you going to go and try and travel the world and see what's available? And who knows, like Haber just moved. The guy scored in 800 goals in like 12 games. Like he's the guy who just won Player of the Year. He won the goal scoring chart 2 years in a row, and he got to move to Thailand at 35 years old, 36 years old. Like Jesus, like you got players who finished their careers that played Premier League football and La Liga going to Thailand, and Marcus Haber, who was criticized left, right, and center in the CPL because he wasn't fit enough and wasn't doing this and that, and he's gone and have you seen the guy? The guy's absolutely shredded. He's a freak of nature. And he works his ass off, and fair play to him. And he's chased his dream, and he wants to continue chasing his dream. So why stop at your hometown team when you play for Pacific and it doesn't work out? He thought it was amazing coming back, and he got criticized for not making the grade, which is interesting because a lot of people haven't made the grade and they still get moved around the league. But he got criticized because of his age and because of his pedigree, and so he went out and seeked it elsewhere, and he's fair play to him, and he's absolutely thriving.
What an amazing experience as well. I mean, I can't even fathom what that kind of experience would be like. What do you put it as far as all your footballing teams that you played for, the experience of India? Where do you rank it?
Oh, insane. Like, okay, I played for Leicester. Incredible club. I loved every minute of it. Played for Preston North End. Loved it. Won a league with Donny and played with Tranmere. Great. But the atmospheres, you can't even compare. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, it's not even there's no other superlatives. Like, it was absolutely nuts. I literally went there to avoid the politics and to just get a new adventure. And that was literally why I started it. And it was a draft system. Like, I didn't know where the hell I was going. I didn't sign for a club when I went. I literally signed for a pool of players. I could have ended up in Northeast United. And by the way, Northeast United are absolutely football nuts as well. They're right up on the border of Nepal and that. They're absolutely bonkers for it. And sorry, I missed them out on my whole praising of the fans of football. They're bonkers up there as well.
Is it a football culture though? Like, are they chanting? Is it the same kind of atmosphere? Just obviously more people, but does it feel like it's your typical football crowd?
They're trying. They do it like right after the Viking clap got introduced. So when I returned to Kerala I did Kerala for the first year. I went to ATK for 2 years and then I came back after I was told I wasn't part of the Spanish contingent.
You're not fit enough, and you're too expensive. Just so you know.
Oh, that was only after year one. After that, I'd earned a bit more, which was well worth it. But no, when I went back to Kerala, like we'd signed an Icelandic kid, Gudjon Balvinson, and great lad. But it was right after the whole Viking clap was introduced when Iceland beat England and all that, and they got back, and the whole of Reykjavik town was filled with fans and all that, and they did it, and it was incredible. And they started doing it at Kerala, and you're like, oh my god, there's like literally there was nearly as many people in our stadium doing the Viking clap as there was in Reykjavik doing the Viking clap. Like there was cool. Probably 65,000-70,000 people in yellow doing the clap. And it's like, oh, okay, well, they do their chants. They're making chants up as they go. It's a learning curve for them. There's no "you'll never walk alone" as you come out. It's none of that stuff. But it's they're well supported and they do love it. They do get behind it. It's the first couple of years were very carnival atmosphere. So it was every game was a spectacle. So you had your countdown going into the game, like your 10-second countdown on the big screen. You had fireworks on every goal. You had big flares as you're walking out. I felt like Stone Cold coming out. Like everyone walks out and it's like, but it's they did a huge thing about it. And like the Ambani family, so obviously they own Reliance and everything. They're very invested and dedicated to the game. So they've put a lot of their own money into it. It is a money loser. Like it's not going to be a money maker there, just because like expenses and all that. But they've put the money behind it and they made it special. They do it with the IPL, the cricket league. You see it with when we get off, you go on and have a look at the Pro Kabaddi League, and they do it with everything. It's nuts. And they do make a big thing of little things, and they're trying their best. And again, we revert back to the very first question. Do I think they'll ever win a World Cup? I would pretty much put my life on no, and that's not out of disrespect. Qualifying for a World Cup, I wouldn't put that beyond their stretch. Give them some more time, and I think they have a better opportunity if they continue to progress.
How are you with the
2018
language?
World Cups. Sorry, Craig, go
Sorry?
ahead.
How are you with the language?
English?
Amazing.
Pretty good. He can speak English.
Amazing. No, it was. You go out there and you go to other foreign countries and you think, oh, I don't speak Spanish, I don't speak Czech, I don't speak Polish. Like crap, I'm in trouble here. You go out there and unless you go to very rural towns and villages, they all speak English. They're all very well educated. There's a lot of people I know out there that speak American English. Like they sound more North American than I do. So it's like it was never an issue, trust me, it was one of the issues that I had when I first signed up to do it. And then the food, I didn't know how I'd deal because I'm not a big curry eater.
Come on.
Apart from the weight I carry, Jimmy, I'm not a curry eater. No, I love my meats and fishes and all that, and I'm just not a big dal, like a dip type curry eater. I tried a lot of their food. Some of it came out right away. But it was.
Stubbs knows about that.
Well, it's the first thing you were told when you signed was, and you showed up, is like, don't eat the street meat. So don't eat from the vendors. Like, it's supposedly the best food in the country, but it's one of those that unless you're a local and have the constitution of a horse,
rolling the dice.
Yeah.
So, Craig, were you asking that question? Are you thinking, Craig, about a comeback in India?
I would go there just for the food.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Everyone needs a goalkeeper as a DP, right? Forrest, come on,
Yeah, it works
Yeah.
clearly.
bring
Right?
the flash. Yeah.
Never been a fan of a DP goalkeeper, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Hume,
Hey,
thank
you
you
guys,
so much, mate.
you guys win games for us, but it's I wouldn't throw my money that way. So, no disrespect.
No, I wouldn't either.
With all due respect, Craig. No.
Yeah.
No chance. Hume, listen, mate, thanks so much. We love having you on. Great stories, and I just find Indian football interesting. Right, it's a massive population. They just embrace it clearly, like you said there, right? And maybe it's time. I think Sepp Blatter said years ago. He said they're a sleeping giant about to awake. Well, I guess they're still sleeping right now, but one day, maybe one day.
They're
But thanks,
dozing,
mate.
Sharms.
Hey, they're
Yeah.
having dreams, which is good. So
That's good.
as long as they don't just completely pie it off and be like a San Marino or a Liechtenstein and finally win a game for the first time in
That's right.
their history. So hey, they've won more international games than them. So and
Yeah.
they get to play against the top teams in Europe every year. So they're putting their heart and soul into it. But then if it's successful.
The men are 124th in the world. The women are 68th in the world. So
They were in
There
the
are
top 100 a
teams-
couple years ago, which
Yeah,
was
right.
which was huge. Like, hey, listen, Jimmy, and Craig, where were Canada when we were playing? We
Mhm.
were 80 odd. You guys might have got a bit higher because you won something, but I
Yeah, I don't think
I
we were
didn't.
ever 80. Well, maybe.
We're 45.
around there somewhere.
no,
45.
well, but like I think the highest I ever got was 45, 47. I was normally in and around 70, 80. And we're a country who had players all around the world playing. Like
Yeah.
they're not. They broke 100, which was amazing. So
What do you think of our national team right now? Quick comment on them. They seem to be heading in the right direction. They look brilliant.
yeah, I think the last two games have been phenomenal. I think and saying that, we haven't had Kyle Aaron banging goals, and the guy's been getting chances. So I think we're in the right spot, and I think loved the one the other day, shoving it up them in their place. I love that. But now we're in a great spot, and I think obviously we got over a couple speed bumps with the Olympics, but I think moving into 2026 and leading up to the World Cup, playing games like this and proving that we're in the right spot and proving that we've got that trajectory, I think it's a good time. It's a good time to be a part of it.
Hume, thanks, mate. We'll get you back on again.
Always a
Maybe we'll
pleasure.
recap the Indian season in 3 months' time.
Hey, it's 8 months now, geez.
It was 8 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
See, it's growing, right? It's evolving. But yeah,
No,
thanks,
exactly.
mate. Really enjoyed this.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much.
Cheers to me, lad.
See you later.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
Okay.
pal.
Fittest guest ever.
Yeah, fittest. Yeah. Fattest guests. Lots of them.